Welcome to another edition of the Sports War. And we are back. We got the full crew in the house. That is what it's all about. The Yankees, out of any team in the league, are the best equipped to handle a blow like this.
I think there is a higher power at play here. He's due law of averages. That dude is the ultimate scrub. It's trash. Yeah. Every person you have in there is fucking trash.
Next game, you're going to see a big performance. You can see it in the end of the game, and I'm just totally stoked and excited for this.
And we are back, in the famous words of Brian Barnaby. We are back here on the Sports Port special Saturday edition, Geno time. I'm Geno Ganello, as I joined you last week, and joining us again this week, as always, and as will be common, our super producer, Mike Theophil. Mike, how you doing, buddy?
Good, dude. Long week, great week, but it's good to be here with you on a Saturday.
Yeah, it's been a long week, kind of crappy weather outside, which is unfortunate, but that is what comes with winter in the Northeast.
Have you? Yeah. Quick question though, from the boys at the Sports Port week during the weekday. How are you feeling about the team on your head right now?
How am I feeling about the team in my head? They suck, dude. They suck.
Yeah, we've been wanting to know personally from you how you've been doing, how you've been handling it. Brian Barnaby specifically would like to know.
So I mean, to get into a little NHL talk, I guess, because I haven't really talked about this a lot, and obviously haven't been able to be on the Sports Port. I knew the Canadians weren't as good as they were in the playoffs last year. That Stanley Cup final run was obviously a big run of luck in the players they had. They've lost a lot of players. Corey Perry being one of them, who was a leader on the team. Carey Price has been in kind of the NHL help protocol. He had an alcohol abuse thing that he was going through. So he, he's been going through that, which of course we respect him for that and wish him the best of luck. And then they've been without Shea Weber, their top defenseman, because he's dealing with 18 different injuries and is being forced into retirement almost. So I knew they weren't as good. And as soon as they rehired their coach, I knew we were in for a rough season probably. I don't like the coach, and not many people in the Canadiens universe do. Dominique Ducharme, I think, was hired off of his Stanley Cup run. That really wasn't much of him. It was more of the players kind of going out there, and Carey Price being who Carey Price is. But they're not good. They're not good. I was expecting a little bit more out of Cole Caulfield, but again, this is a Ducharme problem. He's not really giving the young kids a chance to perform out there because he probably knows his job is on the line this season, because they fired their GM, which they needed to do because the GM did nothing to help the team this season. All the people he brought in kind of suck. They really suck. I mean, David Savard, he brought in, who's been an awful defenseman. They haven't really done much, to help the team. And they knew that they were going to have the problems that they had, back when the season ended. So, they fired the GM. They hired a president of hockey operations and Jeff Gorton, who's former Rangers, I think, president. So that's exciting. They're looking for a GM still. But the coach is a real issue. They are not good. Defensively, specifically, they're not very good. Cole Caulfield doesn't get any minutes, and he's the best player. He's one of the best young players we have on the team. And he's had 5 points in his last 6 games or something like that. So, he struggled at the beginning of the season, but he's starting to find form, and the coach doesn't want to play him. So, from a Canadians perspective, they suck, and it's not been enjoyable, but it almost is less stressful watching because I know they're going to lose. So I don't have to sit there and be like, oh man, if we lose this game, we're going to miss out on a playoff spot, or it's going to put us in a worse position for a playoff spot. We're not making the playoffs, so it doesn't really matter. So hopefully at some point in this season, hopefully very soon, they're going to play a lot of the young kids. And when they play a lot of the young kids, hopefully they, gain some experience, because, they're going to have to trade a bunch of people. Ben Sherratt's going to have to be traded. Jake Allen's probably going to have to be traded, and they're probably going to get a couple first-round picks, which is going to be great. So now it's what they do with it. So, there's some things that need to go on in the player development department, because a lot of the players that they've, the players that they've drafted haven't panned out as well as they would, or as well as they should have. But there have been bright spots. Again, Cole Caulfield's been playing better. Nick Suzuki's been really good. It's just the players. I'm going to miss a lot of the players that they're going to have to trade away. I don't know if they're going to have to trade away Toffoli, but I really like Toffoli on the Canadians. Duran, I've really liked. I've liked Brendan Gallagher has been a staple of Canadians hockey for forever, but it looks like he's probably on the trading block as well. So it's going to be a tough next few months, but hopefully it's for the better. And I think they need to go full rebuild, but we'll see. What have the guys said?
Well, I don't know if you know, but Brian he announced
he's a hockey fan now.
No, not just that. It was between the Edmonton Oilers and the New York Rangers pre-Oilers shabacle recently. So they were like hot. And he came out on the show and said he's going with the Rangers. The Oilers go on a losing streak. Rangers go on that winning streak, 6 games. It got snapped or whatever. But so he is officially a Rangers fan. And they've been just curious how you've been handling everything. So I'm sure they're going to watch this and comment on it in the show.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's, again, I kind of expected this a little bit, but was hoping for a better season. The first 5 games were rough. I was like, at that point, I still thought we had a shot. I thought we had some really good players. I was looking forward to Caulfield, playing well, and he just didn't. And it's been a rough season, but it's whatever. I mean, I think that they were headed in this direction, and they probably needed a rebuild like 2-3 years ago. But they've been riding the shoulders of Carey for 2-3 years, and now they're seeing the effects of that because their defense sucks. So,
right.
There's been bright. Romanov's been really good too, so that's good too because he's young. So it's it's going to take some time. It's going to take some rebuild. I really wish Barnes chose anybody other than the Rangers to root for because I hate the Rangers. But
that is great.
I'm still friends with Tony, so I guess I can still be friends with Barnes.
Yeah, exactly. You should hear them. Oh God,
I'm sure they're the worst.
The hockey segment is the new MLB segment, and it's just like the Yankees. How much we talk about the Yankees, it's like all Rangers, and it's ridiculous.
Yeah, of course it is. It's always about the Rangers. It's always about Tony. That's the problem. It's always about Tony.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sick of it.
But yeah, no, the hockey stuff. I love. I do really enjoy hockey, and I even when the Canadians suck, like I'm going to go. They're playing the Islanders, not this Monday, but next Monday at the new arena. So I'm probably going to go there and check that game out. So that'll be a lot of fun.
Nice, dude. That sounds like a fun time.
I can give you guys a little update as to how it looks over there when I get back on after, we're not going to be on the Saturday of Christmas, obviously, but we'll be on the weekend after that. So
yeah.
We'll certainly give you guys an update on what the arena looks like, but that should be fun. I enjoy hockey just from a hockey perspective and just watching hockey. I don't really understand what's going on a lot of the time in terms of strategy. I understand the sport and the rules and stuff like that, but the strategy aspect of it, I'm very confused on still. Like when to dump, what good breakout plays are, what good, forechecks are, back
checks. Start playing Chell.
What'd you say?
You should just start playing Chell.
I do play Chell. I still don't understand it. I played Chell a lot, and I don't understand because Chell is just, I carry the puck up, I pass it, I find the open guy, and as they say, as a good hockey person would say, I cycle the puck. I cycle the puck
nice.
A little bit, But yeah, so it's hard. It's a weird. I don't know. It's a weird sport, but I like it, which I guess is on par for things that I like because I like things that aren't your typical. Top of the line American sports. So, hockey is up there. But let's get into the college basketball. That's where we're going to start today, as we will basically the entire time that we're on here till the college basketball season is over. Because Saturdays are huge in college basketball. This is the big day. Saturdays are great. There's so much going on today. I think there's 95 games on today. So a lot to break down, which has made the best bet segment a little hard to get through. But it is fun. I mean, listen, we've had a great week, another great week of college basketball. It's been truly like ridiculous. How much parity, I guess you could say, is across the entire nation. You got teams dropping every single week, teams losing games against unranked teams, like ranked teams losing. So you got mid-major teams going on big runs and having a really good start to the season. So it's been a lot of fun to watch and a lot of fun to pay attention to. So we're going to get into all of that.
Junior, baby.
What'd you say?
Harper Jr., right? Was it
Yep,
Harper?
that is that. Yep, Ron Harper Jr. That is our first topic of today. Good job, Mike. Wow.
Thank you. I don't watch, and you know me, I played, but I don't watch college basketball at all. It's just not my thing. I'm a huge pro guy, especially for basketball, because I'm just like, you go watch, if you want, folks out there on YouTube, go look up Brian Scalabrine 1-on-1 versus top D1 basketball players. It's night and day. It's absolutely night and day. And he's like retired at that point, and he's just demolishing them.
Oh, yeah. Listen. I think college is obviously not as good as the NBA. It's the same thing as they say in football, right? When you're or in any sport, 1% of the high school athletes that play high school sports are going to get a scholarship to go play in college and start for big D1 schools or whatever, and 1% of those kids are going to make it to the professionals, if that, maybe 0.5% of those kids. So, listen, the best of the best come out of college basketball. The best of the best come out of college basketball, and they play in the NBA, and they become these big NBA players and all that. But I love college basketball because I feel like it's more team oriented. I love the passion.
It is.
Yeah, I love the passion of the fans. I think the fans are more invested because it's your school, and it's just it's a better atmosphere. And like I said, it's more team oriented. So you see more plays, you see more technical basketball, which I like because I was a point guard whenever I played. So I like the passing and the running through plays and good drawn up plays, as I guess your typical old school point guard would, who passes the ball a lot, doesn't really score. But yeah, I like watching the team plays. I like watching, good pick and rolls, good screens, good, off ball movement and stuff like that. And I feel like you see more of that in the college rankings just because they have set plays and they run, with the NBA, it's much more individualized. So if you have one good player, you run the offense through him and this, that, and the other thing. So, I think it's just, there's more of a coach factor in college basketball in terms of coaching the kids and getting them on the same game plan and stuff like that. So that's why I like college sports, but I've always liked college sports over pro sports anyway. So, just because, again, the atmosphere is the big thing for me. But yeah, I mean, and speaking of atmosphere, thanks, Anthony Materiello. Oh yeah, point guard vision. You know it. I don't score. I just pass. That's what I should at least try.
I don't even know who that guy is, but sounds cool.
His name's Anthony. I don't know an Anthony Materiello. I know a Tony Materiello.
Me too.
No, but but speaking of atmosphere, the atmosphere was phenomenal at the Rack on, was that Thursday night when Purdue came to town to face Rutgers in the old, I'm a Jersey boy, so Rutgers is right there. I'm from North Jersey. Rutgers is about a half hour away from me. So always a little pride for Rutgers and Seton Hall, and that's where we're going to start today. We're going to start with the Jersey Bowl today because the Jersey Bowl had a really good Thursday night. First, we'll start with the Ron Harper Jr. Number one going down in crazy fashion. Purdue, everybody I think in the country thought Purdue was the best team in the country. Everybody thought that they were going to go out there and they were going to dominate Rutgers, and Rutgers hasn't been having a good season by any means. They lost a bye game to Lafayette, I think, by 2 points. Just a really up and down season for them. They've lost some players. I don't think Geo Baker's there anymore. Miles Johnson, their other big guy, went to UCLA. So they've lost a couple big names. So it's been an up and down season for them, but this by far was the highlight so far. It was a back and forth game. Jaden Ivey with an unreal dunk in the game. He's been so good for Purdue. And I think a lot of, down the stretch, a lot of people probably figured Purdue would pull away, but Rutgers kept it close. And then Ron Harper Jr. was just phenomenal in this one. 30 points, 10 rebounds. None more important than, of course, the last three that sunk Purdue, taking you guys who didn't watch the game. So Rutgers was down one, I think, late in the game, under a minute to go. Ron Harper Jr. makes a shot to put them up one. Purdue comes back down, scores with, I think, probably 3 or 4 seconds left on the clock to put them back up one. Ron Harper Jr. gets the ball, comes up the court, and from the logo just lobs a shot up. It goes in, and the crowd just goes nuts. I mean, it was crazy. I didn't watch it live, but watching the replays of fans rushing the court, it's weird seeing it from a school like Rutgers that I have grown up so close to. But haven't seen that like ever. Like I feel like that's never happened to Rutgers. There's never been that much. I mean, they've never beaten a number one team in the country. So it was so much fun to watch. So cool. Ron Harper Jr. is actually a Bosco guy, a Don Bosco guy, which is where I went to high school. So that was really cool. His dad, I think, actually played in the NBA. If I'm not mistaken.
Kidding me, bro? He was part of the 3 championships with Jordan. He was the point guard.
Yes. So yeah, his dad is obviously famous.
Jersey ball is doo-doo, Tony Matera.
Oh yeah, Jersey ball is doo-doo. What's going on with Wagner out there on Staten Island? They good?
That piece of junk school. I take turds better than that school.
I mean, come on, Tony. You can't even do that. There's literally Iona's the only New York school that has
some credibility.
I think. Albany's not that good. Syracuse is all right, I guess, but they haven't been.
Yeah, but they haven't been good since 2003.
Yeah, they haven't been good in a while. So that is an awful take, Tony.
Why he's not here? That's why he's not here.
That's why he's not here. But yeah, I mean, just so much fun watching that. I mean, did you see the play, Mike?
Are you kidding me? He looks like his dad, and then I looked up. He's the same exact height. He's the same size, but he plays the 2 or 3. I hope he kind of reminds me of like Cade Cunningham, dude. Like all around player.
He's more. I don't think he has the
handles.
Yeah, I don't think he has the one-on-one ability. He's more like he's always been a big guy. Like even at Bosco, he was a big guy. So I just don't know if because even last year when they had Miles Johnson, he wasn't playing the 2 or 3. And they have to run the offense through him because they don't really have anybody else. He's their best player by far. But yeah, I mean, I don't know where that's the thing, right? It's like, I don't know where he fits in the NBA. I think he's a good role player in the NBA, probably.
He needs to if he could get a jumper, I mean, a dribble, like he could dribble more. I mean, he's totally fine, dude. He has, like, I watched his highlights. He has a whole game. If he's going to be fine.
Yeah, he's good, man. He's been really good, and it's been a lot of fun to watch him over the years because he's really grown into this player. When he first came to Rutgers, he wasn't the player he is now. Now he's kind of taken over the team. I mean, a game against the number 1 team in the country where you're the guy, like it's hard to be the guy when everybody knows where the ball is going to. And for the most part, Rutgers, that's their offense. Like I said, runs through them. I'm pretty sure. So runs through him. I'm pretty sure. So it's hard to be that guy, and especially be the guy. He's a bigger guy against 2 really big guys in Travion Williams and Zach Edey, and still managed to get 30 points there. So I mean, he's been a lot of fun to watch and really good night for Rutgers. But again, as I mentioned, it wasn't the only Jersey team who had a good night. Seton Hall also downed number 7 Texas on Thursday night as well. Seton Hall is ranked. They're number 20. They were number 23 in the country, I believe, coming into this. But Texas didn't have it. Texas very much. I'm going to bring up a team that we're going to talk about in a couple seconds. But Texas very much like a. All right. I mean, what are we doing with St. John's? St. John's hasn't been good since the 90s either. Come on, Tony.
I know he's like in outer space, I think.
I mean, St. John's is good, all right this year, but Mike hasn't seen it.
Dude, I see UConn, dude. That's all I need to say.
But yes, UConn, very similar to UConn. Texas is kind of that similar team right now, where the defense is really good and is very good, like every single game. But the offense hasn't really hit a groove. And that's what we saw with UConn the other night, which we'll get into. But the offense struggled again in this one against Seton Hall. Seton Hall's a good team, though, man. They've beaten some good teams. They beat Michigan, who seems to have spiraled out of control since that loss. They've beaten a couple, really solid programs. They've gone on a much better run than many people expected. A lot of people expected Seton Hall to take a fall after losing. Is it Miles Powell? I can't remember his name, but
the shooting guard.
Yeah, the shooting guard.
Yeah, I know you're talking about. He got buckets.
Yes, and a lot of people thought they were going to take a step back after him.
Do they still have the Bridgeport kid on the team?
Not Kane Broom.
The other guard, he was like defensive oriented. Remind me of Tony Allen.
Quincy McKnight, right?
Yes.
Yeah, no, I don't think they still have him on the
graduated. That's tough, dude. Because he was a senior. I know the COVID year when they were about to go into the dance and have a good run.
Yeah. Yeah, no, he was.
I think him that year, bro. He was. He came into the studio.
Yeah, and
where downtime used to be at a place called Moco. He knew the owner and he came through and I talked to him. It was sick.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, no, a boy who played at Sacred Heart, one of those that.
Yeah, he did, but he didn't get PT there.
Yes, no, he didn't.
Flat. Anthony says he is in outer space. I could see that. Matt is no bueno. UConn is doo-doo just like CT, and the Canadians suck.
Yes, Tony, we discussed this. I know the Canadians.
Go watch the beginning of the show, Tony.
Go watch it. Come on, dude. You're so behind, dude. So behind. But yeah, Quincy McKnight, I think he got the extra COVID year. I think Miles Powell left after. I don't know when Miles Powell played through. I forget if he left after the COVID year. He's currently in the G League right now, Miles Powell, but I forget if he left after the COVID year or not. Checking right now. Yeah, he did. No, he played last year. So he played. He went undrafted. He went undrafted in 2020. So he played last year. Didn't play last year. Played the year before, and then Quincy McKnight took over the team last year. And I think after Quincy McKnight left, people thought that this team was going to fall apart, but they've seemed to find a stride here. Bryce Aiken has been really, really good for them. So that's been a good pickup for them. Bryce Aiken played his ball, I want to say at where did he go before Seton Hall? He played his ball at Harvard before Seton Hall. He was really good for Harvard. So he's been a good player for them, and they've really been on fire this whole season. Only loss was to Ohio State. So a lot of good in New Jersey basketball, but a little bit of fun coming up overall. I mean, both these teams beat top 10 teams this week, and then tomorrow, I believe, is the game. Tomorrow, Sunday, December 12th, they will take on each other at the Prudential Center in Newark. Seton Hall will play Rutgers tomorrow. And according to reports, Seton Hall has blocked off the upper tier, the upper bowl of the stadium for Rutgers fans. So some little ticky-tacky petty BS that's going on over there, but that's always fun. That's always a fun storyline to follow. But from what I've heard, they still have not opened up the upper bowl to allow Rutgers fans into the stadium. So, or to allow more Rutgers fans, I guess, in. So it's going to be a fun matchup tomorrow, and hopefully they open the upper bowl, because this is the big talking point now after Seton Hall gets their big win and Rutgers gets their big win. It's going to be a fun little battle. I mean, Seton Hall probably will win the game. Right now, Ken Pom has them winning by 10, 72-62, but it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot of fun, and I'm excited for that game tomorrow. But moving on, let's talk about UConn, Mike. Do you want to talk about them?
I do. I know Matthew wants to listen to us talk about him. He loves UConn.
Yes, I know, Matt, and I know that they're getting back on track, but the loss to West Virginia was ugly, and I don't think you can disagree with me on that, Matt. They lose to West Virginia by 3. It was not a high-scoring game. But the big thing is the offense, as I mentioned. The big thing was how they performed on that side of the ball.
I'm missing book night, bro.
What'd you say?
I really feel like they're missing book night.
Yeah, and that was the big problem. That's the big problem with this UConn team, is they're missing book night. They've lost 2 games this season, both by a total of 7 points. Against West Virginia, they shot 14% from 3, 39% from the field, and they shot 54% from the free throw line. Only took 11 free throws, but still 6 from 11 from the free throw line in a game you lose by 3 points is not good. Even if you go 9 of 11 and miss 2, it's a tie game and you go to overtime. So they've had they've had a lot of trouble on the offensive side of the ball, which is the big thing. And they've got a big matchup today, which we'll talk about in a little bit, against St. Bonaventure. And really the rest of the way, they play top 100 squads every game from now until January 25th, when they welcome Georgetown to their arena. But other than that, they got St. Bonaventure, Providence, Marquette, Xavier, Butler, Seton Hall, St. John's, Providence, and then Butler again. And these are all squads that play pretty solid defense. So the big issue is going to be seeing if they can turn it around and get the offense going, because scoring 50 points a game against these really good squads is not going to do it. They scored 60 against Michigan State, 53 against West Virginia. Providence has played really good defense. They're going to struggle against them too if they can't figure it out. Matt Gabriel saying Hurley will win Coach of the Year. I hope he wins Coach of the Year. Because I really like him. I really do like him, and I think he's a really good coach. But offensively, they haven't figured it out. So they're going to have to find it on the offensive side of the ball. I know that according to, if you go by KenPom ratings, their adjusted offensive efficiency is 111, and that's good for 30th in the country. But again, we're taking into account games against Central Connecticut, Coppin State, LIU, Binghamton. They did play well against Auburn, but that game went into double OT, so they scored 115 points in that game, but that was in double OT. It's not like that was a regular effort. And then they scored 70 against VCU, and then they played well against Maryland, Eastern Shore, and Grambling State. I mean, they played really well against teams that are 300th or worse in the KenPom rankings, but they haven't been up to par. I mean, their 2 wins against anybody ranked above 274 in KenPom's rankings. Their 2 wins against anybody inside the top 100 are a 70-63 OT win against VCU, who's not very good this season, and a 115-109 win again in double overtime against Auburn. So they're going to have to figure it out, because they're going to face a lot of these really good defensive teams down the stretch. Marquette's been, as we've seen, Marquette has been very good defensively for the most part. Providence has been very good. Xavier's been a really fun squad to watch. They're going to be a tough team to beat. So UConn's going to have to figure it out on both sides of the ball, or on the offensive side of the ball. They're going to be stifling defensively, and they will win games with their defense. But it's going to have to be on the offensive side of the ball that they're going to have to, if they want to win the Big East championship, and if they want to win any games in the tournament, that's where they're going to have to find a groove. So we'll see how that plays out. A couple other things that happened this week. Texas Tech beat Tennessee in OT. A good win for that Texas Tech team. Tennessee, another team that struggled on offense. Fun story there. One of my friends said that he texted me while this game was going on. He said, he goes to me, "Hey, this game between Texas Tech and Texas is really, really bad." And I'm like, "Dude, Texas isn't playing till tomorrow. They play Seton Hall tomorrow." And he's like, "Oh my God, I thought it was Tennessee. I'm so high right now." So yes, he thought it was Texas that was playing. I mean, at least he got the orange right. That's a good thing,
I
right?
guess I'll give him that credit.
I mean, that's good, but did not get the other thing right. Memphis sucks. That's my overall. Penny Hardaway has done an awful job with the talent he has. He's got 2 top 5 recruits. He's got 2 5-star recruits on that team, and can't do anything with it. They lost again last night. They suck. They really suck. And they lost to Murray State last night, who is good. They're good, but they're not great. And they have to play. I think they play. Memphis has 2 really tough games coming up. Let me check it right now. They have 2 really tough games again. Yeah, they have to play Alabama and Tennessee back-to-back coming up. That's just. Oh yeah, I guess that's true.
Yeah, I knew we'd get you on that. Getting high on life plays horse. Okay, Tony, we don't have to go there. All right. On the small hoop too, Geno. Like, Tony's like good at weird things like bowling and stupid like fair games. He's talking about horse on the mini hoop in here, and he loses to Brian Barnaby 1-on-1, and he talks back to me.
Yeah, listen. I mean, I have nothing to say about Tony. His ability in one-on-one. I think he's taken me pretty hard in one-on-one. I mean, we've had some battles, so he's been a good competitor for me. But I mean, I don't know if he has the quality to say that you are bad, Mike. I wouldn't say that. I would never say that.
No, yeah, I mean he's right about the horse in the mini hoop because it's a mini hoop, and I haven't trained my whole life in my room like a weirdo on a mini hoop that my dad and I built. All right, Tony. All right, Tony. I didn't have that, Tony. I played on a real hoop.
You gotta. I think it's time. I think when the summer rolls around, we gotta have a downtime pool basketball game.
Oh God, please!
Those are always a mess, dude.
Pool I know. I can see heads getting slammed into the bottom of the pool.
Dude, I've ended more pool basketball games than I have actual basketball games. With scratches all over myself.
Look at this guy.
Injuries.
I knew I got him on that look, and then look, ready? That's because you're not cool. First of all, I'm D2, you dummy. You don't even D3, know what you're talking about.
Dude, you don't know. Come on, dude. D2, bro. University of Bridgeport's a solid D2 squad.
Yeah, we should be D1, but we're not. All right, Anthony. And we beat Sacred Heart when we played them every year. So eat that.
Sacred Heart did used to be D2 as well. Fun fact.
So there you go. Yeah, you know what's crazy?
National championship.
That's why we still play them, because there was a huge rivalry in the early 90s between SHU and UB. And this is not a joke. This is for the D2 NCAA tournament championship or whatever, or it could have been the conference championship. I can't remember, but
probably the
Sacred Heart. Probably conference. Sacred Heart beat SHU. This is D2. This is when Sacred Heart was in D2. Beat UB. Sacred Heart beat UB on a half-court hook shot. True story.
Wow.
True story.
Wow.
And the players, because we have the alumni game every time we play SHU. That same day, the alumni come back and they play each other. Those players that were in that game. Yeah. So I've heard the story. It's crazy, dude. A hook shot from fucking half court. Can you imagine? For the win.
I would imagine that was a pretty steamy rivalry, just because, bro,
they're both on Park Ave. Think about it.
They're both on Park Ave, and back in the day, when Sacred Heart was in D2, Sacred Heart was an extremely competitive D2 program, and so was UB. So,
exactly.
Like I said, Sacred Heart won the D2 national championship back in '85. I think
that's the year, bro. That it was the championship.
It was the championship.
It was half court hook shot to win.
I wonder if I can find that online. I wonder if Sacred Heart. Oh, hold on. It would help if I type in Google. This is great. TV, radio, whatever you want to call it. But I'm going to look it up anyway. Sacred Heart, UB, University of Bridgeport. Half court hook shot. Sacred Heart University. Mike?
I'm here.
Anything. I'm not seeing anything.
I know. Because, dude, think about it. It's Sacred Heart.
Yeah, it was before that time. Yeah.
It's I'm sure the local
That's
papers.
Shame, though, Yeah,
dude,
I might find it.
Yeah, it's cool. And, dude, I think there should be a live-action movie made on Manute Bol's story, because the stories of him at UB, bro, the stories of him, and, I would go to, all the local places that he would go to, too. And all the owners, the store owners, would talk about him and stuff. So it's just, imagine seeing that 7'6" dude in Connecticut, in this area, walking around, going to get lunch in Fairfield.
Yeah, no, I know that would be crazy.
And rumors came out that he was actually not his age. He was older, 10 years older than he actually was. It came out post his death, RIP. But apparently he was 10 years older entering college than he was on his birth certificate. They changed it so he could play.
That's crazy. That's crazy, dude. I'm sorry. I'm just looking at this thing. I actually found an article from 1986.
Wow. What does it say?
It's about Sacred Heart from 1986. It's quite literally, the thing literally said, It says, despite a long winning tradition, the men's varsity basketball team at Sacred Heart University in Bridgeport has long been overshadowed by its counterparts at the University of Connecticut and Fairfield University.
Yeah.
That's the first line. But still few around the state team pay attention until last weekend when the Pioneers became the first men's basketball team from Connecticut to win an NCAA championship. Wow. Would you look at that?
Yeah.
We were the first men's basketball team in Connecticut to win a national championship. That's pretty crazy. That's
I know.
Actually a very interesting stat that I never. And it wasn't in the It wasn't in the. It must have been in the conference championship game.
That's
they beat Southern Missouri State in the conference or in the national championship game.
See, like that right there is a Stump Rothenberg question.
Yeah,
he would not get that. He would not get that. There's no shot he knows the first school. He would definitely think UConn or Central, or so. He would never think Sacred Heart.
That's crazy, dude. And this is I believe this is a New York Times article. So that's pretty crazy. Wow, look at that. The things you find on the internet.
And you don't want to know, I'll even add something because I hate how that sentence started for the article. University of Bridgeport breaks barriers as first D2 team to be televised on CBS for a national championship.
Wow. Look at this. We're learning things today.
That is a fact. Isn't that crazy? And that performance, that UB team, which Glenn Colello was on, Catch a Healthy Habit, we had him on the Dreams Free. Yeah. That team was the reason why the Moonies bought UB and kept it alive and saved the school, basically. UB was bankrupt. They had no money, and they were about to go under as a school. And that 91, 92 team, the early 90s, late 80s teams, saved that. I think it was 91 or 92. I can't remember right now, but saved the whole school. That's why the school still is here today.
That's UB. Crazy. That's all. I mean, that's wow. Look at this. We're learning a lot about despite
Geno time, baby.
Yeah, Geno time. A big history which I like. I like the history learning. Maybe that can be our new segment.
In history.
Maybe that can be our new segment. History things that you didn't know about sports or something like that. Maybe we'll think about it. But that's actually pretty cool. Pretty cool that we learned that. We were on Memphis, right? How do we get to Sacred Heart?
Dude. I don't know. I don't know, but Imoni Bates is just.
Yes, they suck. Their turnover percentage, like they turn the ball over, and I'm guessing the turnover percentage on KenPom means amount of times they turn it over per possession. So I don't know, but currently it's a 25, which is 349th in the country out of 358 teams. They turn the ball over so much. They don't hit their free throws. I mean, they're literally a walking recipe for disaster.
Yeah, it's crazy. Isn't it crazy? They had all the hype. I remember seeing the highlight videos for Memphis in the preseason from their page. It's like, because I followed Bates, and Chet, and I was always Chet, numero uno, 1A, 1B, but it's just proven that Chet is a better player.
I don't know. They are such a disaster. It's such a shame too, because they have so much talent on that team. It's such a shame. Speaking of hook shots, though, to transition from our Sacred Heart conversation, did you see what Drew Timme said yesterday on the 2 days ago after Gonzaga beat Merrimack? He said, he was in the press conference and he had an ice bag on his hand, his shooting hand. And they were like, oh, like, what's wrong with your hand? And I don't have the exact quote. I saw it on Twitter earlier, but he said something like, oh, I hit too many sky hooks today. My hand was too hot or something like that. And I was just like, that's an amazing answer.
He reminds me of Kaminsky.
Yeah, I like him a lot, but he's not an NBA guy.
No, right? There's no way.
Shot.
He's probably going to get drafted, though, no?
He's currently expected to get drafted in the second round.
Okay.
But again, this is a good example of why, we're looking at Drew Timme. Drew Timme is one of the best college basketball players in the country.
Yep.
And he's just, it's more a matter of your build and how you're built to play in the NBA than it is like your fit anymore. Because again, it's such an individualized sport where yes, team matters in certain aspects of the sport, but if you have one guy can do it all in the NBA and one guy can lead a team and be that guy.
Yeah.
And Drew Timmy's never going to be that guy. Like his game is so like early 2000s, late 1990s that he'll never make it in the NBA. So, or he'll never make it as a star in the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I thought that was really funny. Another couple upsets. Texas Southern beat Florida, which is probably one of the biggest upsets of the season. Texas Southern is obviously not a very good squad. Florida was having a really good season. They were ranked 14th in the country when they went down. So Texas actually, wait, this is even better. I actually forgot this. Texas Southern hadn't won a single basketball game all year. They played, I believe, 7 basketball games in the season before they faced Florida on Monday. They had lost every single one of them. A lot of them by double digits. And they lost every single game that they played. And then they beat Florida, which is crazy. And they didn't beat them by like a point. This wasn't like Rutgers upsetting Purdue or some of these other upsets, Lafayette upsetting Rutgers, some of the other things we've seen. They smoked them, beat them by 15 points this week. So really big shout out to the Texas Southern Tigers down there in Houston, Texas. That's a really big win for them. And Florida, that was their second loss in a row. They lost to Oklahoma on December 1st and then lost to Texas Southern, but they picked it back up against North Florida after that. And then Loyola Chicago won a bye game against Vanderbilt. For some reason, Jerry Stackhouse and Vanderbilt paid $80,000 to have one of the best mid-major countries come to their home court and beat them, which was, I mean, I would imagine, I didn't check the betting, but I would imagine that Loyola Chicago was favored in that game. I don't understand some of these bye games, but they happen, and that happened. And then a couple teams that have looked really, really good this season. Again, we mentioned San Francisco last week. San Francisco has been unbelievable still. They're 10-0 now, I think. Been one of the surprises of the campaign. It'll be interesting to see what they do in WCC play. I cannot wait to see them take on Gonzaga and see how they can hold them there. The Gonzagas, the BYUs, the St. Mary's, those are going to be the big tests. Santa Clara even. Those are going to be the big WCC test for them. So it'll be a lot of fun to check that out. And then Arizona, we get a good game today for Arizona, a real statement game today. They've looked phenomenal so far, but they do play Illinois today. Illinois has struggled at certain points of the season. Arizona currently undefeated. They've beaten Michigan and Wichita State as the 2 top 100 teams they've beaten. Illinois, on the other hand, lost 2 games early in the season, lost to Marquette and lost to Cincinnati in back-to-back games.
I always think of my bad. I always think of Illinois, and I always hear Darren Williams in my head.
Yep. I think of that team too. That's what was 2005.
What was his point guard? The other point guard's name with the cornrows.
We literally ask this question all the time, and I've been asked this question like 6 times, and I can't remember it.
I always forget he got into the league. He got drafted. Then obviously, I think he was a 1-year and done type of dude.
Yes, because it was the 2005, 2006 team, right? Or 2004, 2005 team, maybe. I think won the national championship. Let's see where they finished. Ranking number 2. This was one of the best teams. They finished NCAA tournament runner-ups. So let's see if I can find. Oh, D Brown. Is that who you're thinking of?
See, I was going to say Brown. Yeah. What was it, Torrey?
D Brown. D-E-E.
D Brown. D Brown. That's right, dude. That's funny.
D Brown.
You know who you reminded me of when this dude came out, and I was like, he's just going to be just like him, was Tyler Lawson from North Carolina. I was like, they're the same player. It's like 8 years apart. Ty
Lawson, dude. I mean, he was another guy so good in college, but he was a guy who did he get like fat once he got to the NBA?
It's tough because he was solid his first like 2 years, and then he got traded, and then he did the Raymond Felton diet.
Yes, exactly. Him and Raymond Felton
just followed his blueprint to success.
Yeah, I mean, you can name them over and over and over again. Guys who were studs in college and just did not
pan out. Yeah, it's crazy, dude.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at the stats.
Oh, by the way, we need to talk. This is just a side note, dude. What is going on with Luka Doncic? The man looks like what is he eating? What is going on? Is he trying to get out of Dallas, dude?
Dude, I would.
Are you nervous?
Dallas. I was a little nervous this offseason. I was a little
Right?
nervous. I'm like starting to get a little more nervous. But then
dude, it's a little eerily similar of Nash.
Dude, the problem is they brought in Porzingis to be the second guy and paid him all that money, and they have no money to pay anybody else. They re-signed Hardaway, which Hardaway's good, but he's not a good number two. We talked about this last season. We talked about this last season at the end of the year.
They did nothing.
I said they needed to get a number two, and they don't have a number two. Like, KP's not going to do it, and his contract's too big. They can't trade him away. So
I heard a rumor about Doncic.
What was?
Do you want to hear it?
Yeah, I would love to.
Apparently, him and Zion are meeting up a lot and just going to town on food together.
Dude, I'm about to say, there's no way this is about a trade. This absolutely has to be about the fact that Zion's 330 pounds right now, according to reports.
Dude, I'm telling you right now. Cool. I said this before. He does, dude. That's exactly what he looks like, Geno. Like, if you didn't know Zion, if you were just a random person and all of a sudden someone showed you a photo of him right now, you'd be like, he plays in the NFL, right?
Yeah, like absolutely, 110%. That would be my thought.
I have a huge rumor about him because of his whole love for New York, his whole love for RJ. I have a huge feeling he's pulling a James Harden and trying to get out of New Orleans and make a trade to New York.
Yeah.
By the way, Geno.
Yeah.
Never mind. Tony has the same water bottle as you.
Oh, this one?
The exact same one.
Well, that's because he copied me because I've had this for years now. So
yeah, I can see him copying you a lot.
Yeah, he copied me, but that's okay. That's okay.
It's all right.
We'll accept it. But that's it for the college basketball of the past. Let's talk about some of the games today. There's so many good games on today, Mike. So many good games.
Let's do like a top 10 games for people to just keep a lookout for, maybe, or something like that.
Yeah, I don't know if you can watch all these games. It's so hard to check. There's so many different streams you can watch them on.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Get them. Even if they're not on television, they're probably on some conference streaming website that's for free or whatever. But starting right now, actually, we have Ohio State and Wisconsin going to battle right now. They're currently at the half. Ohio State's beating Wisconsin 34-29. And another game going on right now is BYU and Creighton, but BYU's getting smoked right now by Creighton, who has looked really good. Another team very similar to Seton Hall that a lot of people expected to be bad this year. They've kind of turned around. They've actually had some pretty solid matchups or pretty solid games. A couple other games that are going on later today. Colorado State, Mississippi State is going to be a very good game. It's a game that I'm not sure I want to bet on because it's going to be really close. Love Colorado State. They've had a couple bad games over in the past couple weeks, but I love Colorado State, especially against Mississippi State. That's a game that Colorado State absolutely can win. So that'll be a lot of fun to watch. Some more games going on today. And as I'm just scrolling, Drake Clemson, another game. This is one of my best bets, I think, of the day. I'm leaning Drake. And again, this is, I'll tell you guys this. I haven't been able to really dive into it too much. So please feel free to fade me. But there's something about Drake +3 that I really, really like. That's one of the bets that I'm eyeing today. I'm thinking about it. It's going to be a really close game, but it's a game I think Drake can pull out. Just some things on Clemson. Clemson has had a rough past few weeks. They started the season off 4-0, beating Temple, Bryant, Wofford, and Presbyterian, which aren't great wins at all, for being completely honest. Since then, they've lost to St. Bonaventure, West Virginia, Rutgers, and Miami, Florida. The last two being really bad losses. I know Rutgers just beat Purdue, but Rutgers has had a rough season overall. The only game that they've won in their last 5 games has been Charleston Southern. I really like Drake. I know Clemson, they're such a weird team, but Drake's played a lot of these top 100 schools really well. They beat Richmond by 3 points early in the season, only lost by 5 points to Belmont, only lost by 9 points to Alabama. Drake's going to be a tough team. They knock down their free throws for the most part, shooting 71%. They're 62nd in the country in 3-point percentage. So that's a game I would look at as maybe one to take advantage of there. And Clemson gives up a lot of free throws. So that's something to look at there. We have a couple rivalry games today too. I know Xavier's taking on Cincinnati today, which definitely catch that game, because if you want to watch a game where there's going to be a brawl, there's like almost definitely a brawl in that game because they hate each other. They absolutely hate each other. Xavier and Cincinnati is one of like the biggest rivalries in the country. And we only get to see it once a year, but it is so much fun to watch. Both teams have been pretty good so far this season. As I mentioned, Xavier is going to be a really tough team this season. So definitely watch that game. Oral Roberts, Missouri State is a fun one to watch. Missouri State has struggled this season, but if you remember Oral Roberts from last season, Max Asmus, the team that beat Ohio State, went on that run in the NCAA tournament. Asmus is back. He's starting to get back to his real self, starting to score a lot more. So that might be a fun game to watch. Of course, Mike, as you mentioned, or as I mentioned, and as we talked about, UConn is taking on St. Bonaventure today. That's going to be a really, really good game, a really fun game to watch. I've got another best bet that I think I'm leaning towards Washington State over South Dakota State. Currently, it's at 5.5. I got Washington State winning this game by almost double digits. So I'd take a look at that. Washington State's been really good. They've had a lot of success so far this season. So definitely take a look at that game. As I mentioned, Arizona taking on Illinois, another game to watch. And then later in the day, Alabama and Houston are going at it. So that's a game to watch. I think the game takes place at 7 or 8 p.m. tonight, maybe a little later. So definitely catch that game. And then a couple other ones that I would keep an eye on betting wise. California and Santa Clara. California is one of the worst Power 5 schools in the country. Santa Clara has been one of the best mid-major schools in the country. So that game's going to be pretty close. I'm trying to find what the line is right now. Just looking it up right now, the West Coast Conference. The line is, okay, of course, Score doesn't have the line for that game, but I would keep an eye on that line because that's going to be a really good game. And then keep an eye on the LSU Georgia Tech line. It's probably going to be in favor of LSU, but LSU's 7-1 against the spread, I think, so far this season. So that's a game to keep an eye on because LSU has been playing really good. They're good against the spread. I think the spread is going to be probably on the higher side. So, you can make a decision on that, but that's a game to watch out for. Well, there's a lot of good ones. I could literally point out like 10, 15 more. I mean, there's so much good basketball on today. You're going to turn on the channel. If you got something, there's probably going to be a good game on. There's it's going to be a lot of fun today. If you're dealing with the weather I'm dealing with right now and it's rainy, you got nothing to do, turn on some college basketball today. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. College basketball, baby. But yeah, just to go over that again, I'm going to take Drake +3 against Clemson, Washington State -5.5. And then I'm looking into that California Santa Clara game and the LSU game, but I'm not sure on those. So just a betting update for us. We are 5-1 on the show so far.
Wow.
2-1 last week. When we were originally going to start the show a couple weeks before that, I came up with a few bets. I went 3-0 that day. So again, those days I had a little bit more time to go through them. So please feel free to fade me today. But we've had a little bit of success on the show. So my official picks are going to be Drake +3 and Washington State -5.5. But again, I would keep an eye on that Santa Clara game and the LSU game too. I don't typically like betting on rivalries like Xavier Cincinnati, too much emotion involved. And then just a couple other things. Look for teams to make free throws. Look for teams to make their 3-point shots. Those have become such an important part of the game. And free throws are literally what's going to win you bets and lose you bets. That's something I learned from one of the guys I listened to, Jeff Nadu. I listened to his podcast. He has mentioned this so many times, like free throws, a team that doesn't shoot free throws well is a team you want to stay away from, because you're going to be sitting on the couch in a close game that's like very close to the number, and they're not going to make their free throws, and you're going to be throwing things on the TV at the TV. So keep an eye out for that. Let's move on, though. We've talked about college basketball for about an hour now. I could literally go on for days, but I do have a couple other topics I want to talk about. First, we're going to touch on college football. We're just going to touch on it briefly. I have some qualms that I need to talk about and get off my chest, and then we're going to get into Formula One. The college football thing, the college football playoff came out today, it came out this week, and Michigan currently ranked number 2. Alabama jumped all the way to number 1. Georgia drops to number 3, and Cincinnati rounds out the top 4 at number 4. And which, while I think that those are the 4 best teams, and I think there really wasn't much debate about who the teams were going to be that were put in, Cincinnati had a good win. I have a very big problem with Alabama jumping to number 1. It's just, in my personal opinion, there's a lot of talk. Of course, there's a lot of talk about, we want to see the Alabama-Georgia national championship game, this, that, and the other thing. It's not about what game we want to see. And that this is the problem I have with the committee. It feels like the committee said, I don't want to see Alabama and Georgia play in the first week, in the first game. I want to see them play in the championship game. So let's give them an opportunity to do that. And that shouldn't be what it's about. Michigan earned the right to be the number 1 team in the country. They had a 39-point win against a ranked opponent in a Big Ten championship game. They beat Ohio State, their only losses on the road to a tough Michigan State team. That is the number 1 team in the country. They were number 2 going in the week. They won by 39 points against the number 15th ranked team in the country, who has a very good defense, mind you. They're still ranked number 2. How does that not warrant them a jump to number 1? I really don't understand that. My personal opinion is if this is any other week in the in college football, if it was the week before the championship games and they won by 39 points over Iowa, I think they would have jumped to number 1. I think they should be number 1, and they're going to get a tough Georgia team now as opposed to getting Cincinnati, who they should have gotten, which I think is unfair to them. So I think the committee's playing a little bit with the rankings. I think this is why we need to jump to more teams, because it's easy for the committee to say with 4 teams, well, I don't want to put what we think the 2 best teams are in the in the same game in the semifinal. I want them to play each other in the championship game. And if there's a case for it, then they will do it. And I think that it allows for that too much. And I don't agree with that. I think Michigan should have been the number 1 team in the country. I don't think there should have been any debate over that. They were watching the games. If you watch that Michigan game if you watch that Michigan game last Saturday and you said to yourself, Michigan isn't the number 1 team or doesn't deserve to be the number 1 team in the country, I think you're lying to yourself. So I had a really big problem with that. Other than that, I don't mind Georgia being 3. I don't mind Cincinnati being 4. Even if they put Georgia at 4, I wouldn't mind. And they had them play Michigan. I just have a really big problem with Michigan not moving up any spots after a 39-point win over a ranked opponent in a conference championship game. That boggles my mind. But that's it for college sports. College football and college sports, but I'll give my predictions on the college football playoff when we get closer to that. And we'll talk a little bit more about maybe some college bowl games that are coming up that might be fun and interesting as it gets closer. But that's going to be it for college sports today. As I mentioned, we're going to wrap up today with a little Formula One talk because it is the last week of the season and there is so much drama going on right now. It's unbelievable. If you don't follow Formula One, I highly recommend it. I highly recommend watching this race tomorrow. It's going to be, I think it's going to be just an all-out, it's going to be racing at its finest. So just to update you guys on what is going on. So there are 2 drivers who are basically the best of the best. They're the 2 drivers that are by and far the best drivers that are on the grid right now. Names Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen. Max Verstappen is with Red Bull. Lewis Hamilton's with Mercedes. They are currently, which I think this only happened one other time before in Formula One history. They're currently tied on points going into the final race of the season. They're currently tied on 369.5 points. going into this final race, which is like, if you think about it, I mean, it's not like you get 1 point or 2 points for wins or whatever. Like, you get, the way Formula One works is you get 25 points for a win, 18 points for second place, 15 points for third place, and it goes on from there. All the way down to 10th place, and anything below 10, you get 0 points. And then you get a point for fastest lap. And then this season, they've been doing what they call sprint races, which are 17-lap qualification races, which you get 3 points for finishing in first, 2 points for finishing in second, 1 point for finishing in third. So for the logistics and statistically for them to end up tied on points is almost impossible. But it is fitting considering the way these two have raced this season and how good this season's been. If you don't know Formula One and you want to get into Formula One, I highly, highly recommend Drive to Survive on Formula One on Netflix. That's a really good series. It describes everything. They go into detail about what the sport is, how the sport works, describes all the teams, and really breaks down the sport really well. So if you want to get into it, I'd really highly recommend that. And again, I'd highly recommend watching tomorrow's race because it's going to be a phenomenal one. And on top of that, they also have, that's the Drivers' Championship. They also have what they call the Constructors Cup because each team has two drivers. So Mercedes and Red Bull are also fighting at the top for the Constructors Cup. Mercedes currently holds about a 30-point lead, which is going to be hard for Red Bull to overcome. It is still mathematically possible, but it would be a very big shock if Red Bull were to pull out a victory, and that, in my personal opinion. But so far, just to get you up to date for this weekend, Max currently took pole in qualification. He will start in first place, and Lewis Hamilton finished in second place in qualification. So he will start right next to him in second place, which is fitting for how we for how this season has gone. It is fitting that the top two drivers go in 1-2 in the final race of the season. I mean, I'm getting giddy thinking about it, Mike. It's so much fun. Do you have any questions, Mike, about Formula One?
I learned a lot from Tony's brother when we went 2 months ago because he's really into it. Yeah. I know that it is probably the hardest sport to get into as a pro, I'd say.
Yeah. It's very, in America at least, it's very hard. I don't know. Like
those drivers are all like, most of them are sons of billionaires or something like that, and they just start so young driving like go-karts, and then they like professional go-karts, not like what we do, and then obviously keep going. But I think it's so cool. I think it should be advertised more in America because NASCAR is kind of like, I don't know, it's all right.
My personal opinion about the NASCAR and the Formula One difference, one, I think NASCAR is too long. Like their races are like 4 hours, 5 hours, whatever it may be. Formula One is typically around an hour and a half to 2 hours. And I like the fact that there's turns, like you can turn left and right, and there's courses like and this is probably very negligent of me and ignorant of me, I should say. But to me, and I'm sure it's different, but to me, every NASCAR track looks about the same. Every NASCAR track looks about the same. Every Formula One track is significantly different, whether it be a street race inside the city, whether it be a race on an actual track. There's different variables to that, along with the wind and how that, I'm sure it affects the NASCAR races, but a lot of these tracks are in mountains and are in these cities and stuff like that. And the wind severely affects how these cars race and this, that, and the other thing. So I just think that there's a lot more factors that go into Formula One. And I just think it's a lot more interesting. But again, I don't fault anybody for watching NASCAR. It's just not my thing. But you're right, Mike. It is very hard to get into because a lot of these guys are sons of billionaires and they've been go-karting since they were 4 years old, like we would here in America for any other sport. But it costs a lot of money to get your son or daughter involved in Formula One. It costs a lot of money. So that's why it's very, very hard. But America is doing a good job, the Formula One is doing a good job in America in marketing in America. They have 2 races now. There's one in Austin, which drew a crowd of 400,000 people at at that race. And then there's one in Miami starting next year, and there's talk of them putting a race in Las Vegas as well. So there's they're marketing in America. There is word that they're looking for an American driver to be on the Formula One grid. There's a search out for an American driver because they realize that the market is very, I guess, volatile.
Tony would say it's him.
Tony, honestly, Tony, sign up, dude. It's not like any of these kids start when they're 4 years old and get into the sport when they're 20. But
Tony. Tony thinks he's just the best at everything he ever does. So like he walks and does anything, and it's just the best.
Yeah, no, literally. I mean, he is basically the best person.
He still thinks he could tackle Derrick Henry in an open field, coming at him full speed.
I mean, maybe now with his ankle hurt, or his foot hurt, but probably
even with
not. I mean, you're probably right. There's no shot. There's no shot he could do that.
Think about Derrick Henry coming at you full speed, bro, with a football in his hand, full pads, everything ready to go, like coming at you. What do you?
I actually think I would die. Like I think I would die. Like I think it would be the end of me. I think I just vanished to dust.
Yeah, you just disappear.
Not even just like a stiff arm. Like if he lowered his shoulder into me.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what's going to happen.
I think I would die. I think I would die.
What's gonna happen. Tony's so he thinks, he drives his Dodge around. He's thinking he's Vin Diesel out here. And so I could
Tony could post up LeBron too,
Oh, dude, yeah, of course. He's better than everyone.
He could have stopped both of those crazy Connor McDavid goals. He could have stopped that.
Oh, easily, dude. Never
without creating a penalty or lying down in front of the net, he could have stopped it.
Yes,
actually, I'm not
easily.
sure lying down in front of the net would have stopped it. But yeah, Tony can accomplish it all. So maybe he'll be our next.
Who do you think is going to win this weekend, though?
So it's interesting. There was some bad blood last week. So just another thing to catch you guys up. Last week, Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen were fighting, and if Max finished in a certain spot above Lewis, Max would have won the championship last week. So there was some controversy, some passing, some illegal passing. In the end, Max was going to what happens is sometimes you go off the track and you come back on the track and there's some passing or whatever, or there's illegal passing on certain yellow flags or red flags, whatever it may be. And if you don't give the place back, or sometimes the stewards tell you to give the place back, sometimes it goes to like a 5-second penalty, whatever. But for both of these cars, you want to be in front, right? Because what happens is there's a thing called dirty air. And being behind another car, there's a lot of dirty air. When you're in front and there's all this open road, it's clean air. You're running through clean air. You're punching clean air. It allows you to go basically your fastest because you don't have to worry about traffic, this, that, and the other thing. So there was a controversy that ended up where Max passed Lewis illegally, I guess. And the Red Bull team told him to give the spot back. So Max was going to give the spot back. He was still going his pace because he didn't want to lose any pace because you get a certain kind of like pull off the back of another car. And if that pull is enough, it could have given Lewis like another half a second on his time and would have sent him off racing and probably away from the Red Bull. So Max was going to give the place back, but still going full speed. And Lewis wasn't taking the spot originally. And then when he went to go take the spot, take the place back, Max kind of left a little tire out there, a little wing out there, and actually hit Lewis on the way there. And I mean, it could have been very dangerous. It looked intentional. It wasn't good. But, it cost Max a 15-second penalty because of the severity. I mean, it could have caused a severe accident. So it wasn't a good move by Max, but it's the heat of the driver championship, I guess, but still not a good move by Max. So it cost him 15 seconds. Lewis obviously was not happy with it. Max has said since that week that his opinion on Lewis Hamilton has changed for the worse because of since the battle that they've had this season. So there's a lot of bad blood there. Currently, and this is another thing in Formula One, I believe they're starting on different tires. So to take you through it, there's a soft tire. In this race, there's a couple different variations, but in this race, unless it rains, there will be a soft tire, there will be a medium tire, and there will be a hard tire that will be available. There's intermediates and wet tires for rain and stuff like that. But basically the difference is the soft tire, it allows you to get going quicker because they get hotter quicker and allows you to get that pace quicker. but they don't last as long. So you have to pit earlier. The medium tires, they last a little bit longer, but take a little bit longer to get hot. And the hard tires, they take the longest to get hot, but last the longest. So, so the pace of the car is different based on the tires that they have. And I believe Max is starting on the soft tires and Lewis is starting on the medium tires. And that's, again, without getting into too much, because it's a lot to explain, a lot to understand. Basically, your qualification, what you race on in the second phase of qualification, if you qualify for the third qualification, like the third round of qualification, you have to use the tires you used in qualification too. So it's complicated, I understand, but that's how it's done. So I believe Lewis is. What'd you say?
I thought you did a good job explaining it.
Yeah, it's a little complicated because if you don't understand, like, let's get into it a little bit because I do want to explain it so people understand what I'm talking about. So when a typical race weekend consists of 3 free practices where they get to test the track, different things like testing the track on low fuel, testing the track on heavy fuel, different tires, different corners, different strategies, all that type of stuff. Then there's on Saturday, there's 3 qualifications. The first qualification is all 20 drivers. The bottom 5 drivers who don't have put in a lap time in the top 15 are eliminated. The second qualification is those next 15 drivers. The bottom 5 drivers out of that are eliminated if they don't have a fastest lap in the top 10. But if you qualify for the third qualification, the top 10 qualification, whatever tires you raced on in the second qualification, whether it be mediums, hards, softs, whatever it may be, you have to race on those tires to begin the race the next day. So if you race on soft tires in the second qualification to get a really fast time, like what a lot of teams will do, they'll race on the tire. And this is what teams do. They race on the tire that they want to race on the next day to start in the second qualification. And then they'll use the soft tires in the third qualification to get the best time. So in this instance, I think from what I understand, because I didn't watch qualification this morning, I was doing something, but I think Lewis raced on medium tires in the second qualification and Max raced on softs. So that's what they will start with. So Lewis will have the ability to go longer. Max will have the ability to go quicker and faster at the beginning, but for a shorter period of time. So it's all about strategy. It's all about these things. And if you watch the race tomorrow, you'll understand a little bit of that because they do a really good job of explaining it on ESPN. The race tomorrow is at 8 a.m. on ESPN2. So if you're up that early, I would highly recommend it. I think that Lewis is going to win the championship. Lewis Hamilton has won the last 7 drivers' championships. I think what's going to happen is that Max is going to get in his head too much. And I think he's going to do things that he knows he shouldn't be doing. He's going to make mistakes, and I think he's going to lose the race. So I think that's going to be the problem. But again, it's the first turn is the most exhilarating thing in the world because you end up with 3-4 cars across the middle. That's the biggest pileup of cars in any turn because it's the beginning of the race. And there may be crashes. And who knows what happens. Right now, if they were to both end up out of the points, both with 0 points, if they were to crash and both not finish the race, however, or just finish the race out of the top 10, and they were tied on points at the end, the win would go to Max Verstappen on race wins because I think he has 8 race wins this season and Lewis has 7. But nobody wants to see that happen. We want to see a full-out race. We want to see teams go fast. We want to see them go, race. We want to see a good race. There's a lot of pressure on the pit crews. The Red Bull pit crew is famously known for being very, very quick at changing tires and getting things changed over. So that's a huge advantage for them because that could save you if Red Bull does it in 2 seconds and Mercedes does it in 3 seconds. That's a second that you get back there, and that could be the difference in the Drivers' Championship. So it's going to be, it's going to be a hell of a race tomorrow. I think Lewis wins, but that's because I think Max is going to kind of make some mistakes because he's going to get in his own head and kind of falter. But all right, Mike, you got anything else?
Last thing I'd say is, what are your thoughts on Jake Paul and what's his name?
Woodley getting a second fight.
Well, Fury, the brother of Tyson, pulling out. Do you think? My question is to you, Geno. Do you think it's all rigged from the beginning, and that was the whole scheme because Jake doesn't actually want to fight a real boxer?
Because
question. Tommy Fury is a real fighter. Tommy Fury is a real fighter. So, and he's 22, 23. He's entering into his career like as a pro fighter. So I could see that.
He's like in his prime as opposed to Woodley, who's like done.
Done.
What you're saying. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly didn't think about that. That's a really good question. I honestly
didn't
know.
Fury was pissed too. He called out.
What did they say happened with Fury, with Tommy Fury?
Let me look up.
Because I thought it was like an illness thing. I thought it was like he was like sick or something like that. So I just thought it was like normal. I mean, I guess it could have been fake too, but
a bacterial chest infection and a broken rib. He has confirmed. That's got to be that's got to be a lie.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I like boxing a lot, but I also know that there are some things that go wrong, excuse me, in terms of corruption. So I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, there's no way on God's green earth Jake Paul should be winning fights, right? I mean, like even against these good fighters, right? Like, I don't know, man. I mean, there's no way if he fought a real fight. I don't believe if he fought a real fighter in his prime, like a Michael Chandler in UFC or like a Lomachenko or something like an actual fighter who's in his prime.
Yeah,
or
exactly.
There's no way on God's green earth that would work out for him, right?
I know there's no way. That's why he's not doing it.
I also feel like here's the thing about like fighting a real boxer if you're Jake Paul, right? It's like Jake Paul's a YouTuber. Like he hasn't been training his whole life.
All right.
Like I feel like it could be a medical risk if he gets knocked out by a real boxer, right?
That's what I'm saying. Like I know, I just think it's all a scam and a show, just a show.
Yeah.
To make money.
I would tend to agree with that. But I mean, obviously it'll never come out until
I know.
If there's a leak or whatever, but I don't think it'll ever come out. But I don't know. I'm not sure. I can't give you an honest opinion, but I would, the way boxing goes, you would lean towards it being, especially these fixed boxing fights and these these promoters and all that. Like, there's probably a good chance it was fixed from the beginning.
Yeah, no, of course. But that's all I got. All
right. Well, thank you guys for sticking around for the last hour and some. Appreciate it. Hopefully you guys learned a little about Formula One, learned a little bit about Sacred Heart Basketball being the first men's basketball team to win an NCAA championship in Connecticut, and learned a little bit about hopefully my bets work out today. That'd be pretty cool. I'll be more ready next week. It's just been a busy week. I haven't been able to watch too much college basketball, so I don't want to give too many picks out if I'm not too sure. But those two feel pretty good to me. Again, Drake +3 and Washington State -5.5. And again, of course, just continue to check on that Santa Clara line and that California line. I currently, just to give you guys an update of where those fall, I currently have it being around a 2-3 point game in favor of Santa Clara. So you keep that in mind if you're looking at the lines. And then the LSU game, I have it being about an 8-point game in favor of LSU. So keep an eye on that if you're looking at the lines. But that's it for me today. I appreciate you guys for following along, listening along. We love you all, and we will talk to you guys next week. Peace.
Hey guys, Tony here from Downtime TV checking in. I want to thank all our fans out there who's been liking, subscribing, sharing our content. You guys are the best. You guys are our bloodline. You make us love what we do. Thanks again.